You're listening to the Night Demon Network. Go to nightdemon.net/subscriber to unlock more exclusive content.
Every weeknight, it's Buzz After Dark.
You like that?
With Eric Steele.
Hang out with me Monday through Friday from 7 to midnight for the Buzz After Dark. It's kind of like the Titanic, except instead of 3 hours to sink, it takes 5 hours.
Freaks come out at night, that's for sure. The Buzz After Dark. After Dark.
All night long.
Awesome tunes, clothing optional.
Hope you enjoyed the ride.
Weeknight 7 to midnight on 102.9 The Buzz. Nashville's Rock Station.
Night Demon fans and friends, we are calling upon you to get Welcome to the Night added to rotation on 102.9 The Buzz. Text the Buzz hotline at area code 615-399-1029 to request Night Demon's Welcome to the Night. That's area code 615-399-1029. You know what to do.
Hello, and welcome to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. I'm your host, Nesbitt. And last week, we talked about the origins of the song, Run For Your Life, the riff, the history of the track, how it was almost the lead track and title track from an album named Run For Your Life that was never released. And we talked about how the entire album was re-recorded and how this song came to be the version you hear on Curse of the Damned. Now, this week, we're going to dig into the track, beginning with the real-life, near-death experience that inspired the lyrics. This is episode number 32, Run For Your Life. The story behind the Run For Your Life lyrics all started at this show on June 21st, 2013 at the Highland Park Legion Hall in Los Angeles, California. The show was for the birthday of friend of the band, Bob Odie.
Cheers to Bob for his birthday! Woo! You can raise your bottle, you can raise your glass, or you can raise the chalice!
So, like I said, the show was the birthday of Bob Odie, who's the guitar player for the band The Grimm. Now, The Grimm is a Southern California punk rock band from Los Angeles, formed in 1983 and reunited in 2010.
That summer, we ended up playing a show in LA, in Highland Park for our friend Bob Odie, who was the guitar player for the legendary 80s punk rock band The Grimm.
I'm Bob Odie. I play guitar in The Grimm. Night Demon played my 50th birthday party. My friends put together this show with a bunch of my favorite bands, including my own. It was great. It was a regular show in the basement of the American Legion Hall and the avenues of Highland Park. All my friends were there. It was like a who's who of musicians. Even Doug Moody from Mystic Records showed up.
This was your typical punk rock show. It was at an American Legion Hall. So basically a veterans hall. It's like it had a bar there, and it's basically a place for veterans of foreign wars to go and hang out, like a clubhouse, and to go drink and, just let loose and associate with each other. And they have fundraisers there, and they rent the hall out for whatever reason. And so Bob rented it out for his birthday, and they had a basement in this place. And basements in California they're just super rare because it's like earthquake land. So I thought that was cool right off the bat, but it was a cool old building, kind of shitty part of town. But so I don't know, the bill had 7 or 8 bands. I don't know, bunch of punk rock bands, but it was cool. Bob asked us to come and play, and I do believe that we were the opening band on that show. So we went down there and set up, and myself, John, and Brent, and we played our set. It was cool. It was a total punk rock vibe down there. A lot of awesome friends were there, and a lot of great bands were there. And even Doug Moody, who the legendary owner of Mystic Records, which put out a lot of punk rock records in the 80s, especially from the Nardcore scene, which is Oxnard Hardcore, which is right butted up next to Ventura, which is where we come from. Myself and Armand actually grew up in Oxnard and went to Oxnard High School. So it's kind of crazy. Doug Moody was like this kind of like, I don't know, infamous record label owner that basically, I mean, kind of with unfair practices, baited all these bands when they were kids into these unfair record deals, put out really shitty sounding records of the bands, and still distributes them to this day. And I think, he's got to be in his 90s, but he's a British guy, and he's got this old showbiz, but kind of British accent. And yeah, I don't know. It's a whole nother story, whole nother rabbit hole of Doug Moody and Mystic Records. But it was insane to see him in person, because we had never met him or seen him in person. He was just kind of always, no pun intended, this mystic figure. But there he was. And, a lot of old school punk rockers were there from the 80s. And it was really cool for us growing up on that stuff to be part of the scene in that way in LA, which is 60 miles north of where we're from, and to have everybody congregate there, the Oxnard and Ventura punks and the LA punks, all for Bob's birthday. So it was a pretty awesome thing. So we play the show. I think our set was probably about a half an hour. Opening band, it's got to be, I don't know, 6 or 7 in the evening. Actually, I do remember it was dark and it was summer, so it had to have been a little bit later than that. So we're done playing. We load out our stuff, and I think another band had played, and it's probably between the second and third band. I think I could tell the story from my perspective. So I'm standing out front of the American Legion Hall, And right next to it is a chain link fence with a open gate, and that's kind of how you enter into the side of the venue, which takes you to a door, a single door that goes down some stairs into this basement where the show was happening. I'm standing there having a cigarette with my friend Samantha, who was also playing that night. She sings and plays bass in a band called Graveyard Bandits. And we were standing out there chatting, having a cigarette. And I remember she pulled out a cigarette and I pulled out my lighter to light her smoke. And she bowed her head down forward a little bit to, as you do when you're having your smoke lit, you don't really stand up straight. You kind of bow forward and, cup the lighter with your hand for wind or whatever, kind of, especially if you're a girl with long hair, keep your hair out, don't get burned, all this stuff. I'm going into a lot of detail about this, but it is important. So at that point, the next thing I remember is just hearing a really loud bang and getting startled. And, she's to the left of me, so I'm turning left at this point. I immediately jumped and faced forward, and the bangs, I just kept hearing the loud bangs and was kind of kept getting blinded by really, really bright flashes. And I kept feeling these like specks of things just hitting my face. So I would equate it to like maybe pebbles or just things, just small objects hitting my face, not causing any pain or anything like that. So I'm kind of just stunned by this, and I don't know what's going on. I'm thinking it's fireworks or something. I mean, it's dark outside. But within seconds, people start screaming and there's a panic happens. And I realize that somebody has walked up to the gate of the Legion Hall and opened fire. So at this point, everybody's just in a mad dash. I remember running straight to the back of this kind of alley that we were in. So, I mean, just picture this. There's a building. There's a fenced-off area on the side. That's the alley, which is the side of the building. And within there's a side door that goes down to the basement where the show's happening. So, I mean, I'm trying to think on my toes here and not get shot or killed. Obviously, there's adrenaline running. In hindsight, you always look back on things like this and go, oh, I should have done this or that. But in the moment, you're just in survival mode. So I remember just running straight to the back of this alley. And, I did think to myself quickly that, like, I can't go in to the show. I'm not going down in that basement where everybody is, because there's one way in and one way out. And if this shooter gets in here and comes down there, I mean, it's just a massacre. There's nothing you can do. So I was running to try and get out of the place. And what I realized is, I was only able to run probably 100 feet back through this alley that was on the property of the building, only to realize that there's 30-foot high walls on the other side of the building with barbed wire at the top that I can't get over, and there's a dead end. So there was like a ramp at the end of this little side, I want to call it an alley, but it's kind of like a side yard, I guess, a concreted side yard, I guess you would say, to this building. And there was probably like a 15-foot metal ramp on the side of the wall that went up to another door. I ran up there. That was locked. So I just decided to get underneath the ramp and lay down and hide and make no noise. I was down there, and a couple girls ran back there crying and scared, and I kind of like just told them to get under there with me, and I just kept trying to just tell them, just be quiet, but the shooting had stopped by then, and I was in no rush to go see what was happening. I had no idea what was going on. So as it turns out, I guess this was some kind of gang initiation or something, and there was this security guard there that night that was working the show. And he was an armed security guard, and this guy had a fucking bad attitude from the beginning. He was kind of a fucking asshole. And I think this might have been some kind of retaliation on him. Maybe they were trying to shoot him. I'm not sure, because, he's the kind of guy that tells off people in the neighborhood and all this shit. So, a lot of people that night claim that it was a drive-by shooting. It was definitely not a drive-by shooting. I was there. I was standing right there. And actually, so what happened is when I was lighting Samantha's cigarette, a bullet grazed her head. And there was like blood in the part of her hair. So it's kind of like if she didn't bend down to light her cigarette at that moment, that bullet probably would have went right in her forehead. The post that I was standing right next to, there was a big old dent in it from a bullet that was at eye level to me. It was just crazy. The stuff that was hitting my face was, flak from these rounds being fired, It's and fucking, debris ricocheting off shit. It's just fucking insane to think about it. So I at this point, I'm looking for John and Brent, because I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Where are my guys? Are they okay? And so from their perspective, I'll try and best describe this without, having any visuals here, but in the front of the building is about 50 feet of driveway and grass. So here's how it goes with the timeline of events. I'm standing at the front gate 50 feet from the street. If I'm looking out at the street, to my left in the street, probably about 50 feet to the left, our guitar player Brent Woodward is standing out there with a friend of his, just having a chat. Brent says that he and his buddy were out in the street and they saw this guy walking up the street a little hastily, looking really nervous, and he had his hands in his pockets. And he walked up to the American Legion Hall, turned and faced it. They saw this from their perspective, from a side point of view, pull the gun out of his pocket and just start firing into the place. He hastily ran to the corner, 100 feet from there, turned the corner, and that was the last that they saw him. Now we're here from John Crerar's point of view.
Hey, this is John C. I guess we're here to talk about Bob Odie's birthday party show, which I have memories of. They're very blurry because I'm pretty sure there was alcohol involved. Yeah, that show was at this American Legion Hall that was in a weird part of town, like in a neighborhood, basically. It wasn't even on the busy street, if I remember correctly. And it just was kind of like, oh, weird, there's a show here? Okay. And the show was in the basement. I remember it being downstairs. And we set up. I know we played early. But I was more concerned. One of my best friends, Martin, who I used to play in a band with, Dick Circus, was out here visiting his family. And so he decided to come to the show. So I was kind of more hanging out with him. But when he showed up, before they would let him in, there's this very intense guy who I can't remember his name, but he was he wasn't running the show, but he was the venue's contact with the people running the show. And he was very intense. And my friend Martin was wearing one of my old band t-shirts Missing 23rd, it's like a guy in stocks, but the stocks is the American flag, and this is at American Legion Hall. So the guy was very pissed off. He's like, you have to turn that shirt inside out if you're going to get in here. So there's a weird vibe, like right off the bat, which I think I just partaked in numbing it with alcohol. And so, and the drinks were very cheap because it was American Legion Hall. And Jarvis was outside smoking. I don't even know if I was out there, if I was inside, but I remember there's a commotion and it was like, oh shit, someone just shot up the show. They drove by and shot up the show. I'm like, oh yeah, that kind of feeling was already going into it. And of course someone would come and shoot it. But I think the bullet went right by his head, and there was like a little bullet indentation on the sign or the pole that was right by where he was smoking. Besides that, I don't really remember much of the show. It's just a blur. Jarvis almost getting shot, playing in the basement of some weird-ass VFW hall in the middle of Los Angeles, in, like, the city, not like, in Hollywood, not anywhere. It was, like, just in this neighborhood. It was definitely an interesting night, and I could definitely see why the song came out of that, because, yeah, it was pretty intense. And it was also fun at the same time, of what I can remember.
A car drove by and somebody shouted something, and then shots rang out. A bullet grazed my friend Samantha's head right down the part of her hair. Luckily, she wasn't killed. She was really shaken up. I've got a picture of me pointing to where the bullet hit this steel post. It was the best birthday ever.
And that's the story. The cops descended on that place. There was a helicopter. There was tons of cops. And, you know, in a bad neighborhood, when something like that happens, this now becomes the safest place in the world because there's tons of awareness around and you're covered by law enforcement and people looking for this guy and all that. I don't know whatever happened with it. Nobody got killed, and nobody, you know, besides Samantha's escape from death and the grazing on her head, nobody ended up shot or dead. Thank God. But the crazy thing was that the show went on after that. It just went on, and there was, you know, 6 bands played after that. We didn't stick around too much longer. I mean, we were a little bit just, I don't know, kind of wigged out by it, and we ended up hitting the road and making the drive back to Ventura. But you know, at that point, I think that Run for Your Lives had some real lyrical content at that point. And that's when I took this experience and this incident and I put it into words, and we ended up with this song.
Hey guys, Jarvis jumping in here. I want to tell you about Shadow Kingdom Records. Shadow Kingdom was the first domestic label to release Night Demon on CD. They put out the EP in 2013, and they also released the vinyl version of Live Darkness. Listen, you guys need to get your ass to the Shadow Kingdom Records store, okay? Right now, they're offering 10% off for all Night Demon Heavy Metal podcast listeners. Just go to the website, put in the code NIGHTDEMON10. That's Night Demon 10, all capital letters, Night Demon 10. No spaces. Put that promo code in upon checkout to get 10% off. Right now, guys, they have the Bloodstar 7-inch, which has sold over 1,500 copies, and these guys cannot hold on to it. So this next pressing, you want to get that before it goes out, okay? Also, SKR Compilation Volume 1. Guys, this is free on Bandcamp. They're giving it away for free. So not only are you going to go to shadowkingdomrecords.com and put in the code, all capital letters, no spaces, NightDemon10 upon checkout, you're also going to go to their Bandcamp site and get this compilation for free. You're going to hear tons of fantastic fucking heavy metal. If you love us, you're going to love this label. Check it out, shadowkingdomrecords.com. Put in the promo code NIGHTDEMON10 and receive 10% off of your entire order. Do it.
I think about I mean, within the next couple weeks of this thing happening, I mean, the inspiration was right there. Sometimes, honestly, it takes me a long time to finish songs and to write lyrics because the inspiration is just fleeting at times. Or I'll write something and I'm not too confident in it, and I know it can be better. And Night Demon's stamp has always been a quality over quantity thing. And it's not about putting new music out every day. It's not about rushing things. It's about doing the best you can and giving each song an opportunity to live on and to mean something, not just for us, but for our fans and to the listener, to really have an impact. And that's why we really don't have any songs that we've never put on record. I mean, if we're going in that direction, we just stop. So this song musically was already something really special to us. And so when this experience happened, the inspiration was right there. And I actually remember that I can't remember the date, of course, but I mean, there's so many things that have happened with this band, and since we started, and so many shows that we've played, and just it's a day in and day out process with us. But I do remember one show that we played in LA shortly after that. I remember demoing the song that same day.
They wait for the night to fall, they come out and play. They're not human anymore. On the moody mystic night, you know something is strange. When they're storming at the gates.
We had a jam room demo that was me and John and Brent. We used to record on, Brent had this Zoom recorder, which is basically just a stereo mic. So there's no separate tracks. We wouldn't mic anything. We would just put this recorder in the room and we would play the songs instrumentally. Sometimes I would sing just over our small little shitty PA and you'd hear that. And these demos were just for our reference, really. But I remember the process that we were doing with the songs that ended up being on Curse of the Damned was that we would record them. We would get to a point with the songs where we kind of liked what we were doing and the demos would evolve, but we would record just the music there on that stereo mic. And then I would dump it like into my computer or like an iPhone or an iPad, just into GarageBand, some simple multi-track recorder. I didn't even have a recording interface or anything like that, or even a microphone of any higher quality than a SM58 standard vocal mic. So I would just kind of put headphones in and sing into my phone on this little multi-track app. And, the quality didn't really matter. It was kind of just, it was for reference. So, and to hear what I sound like and to test things out, that's what a demo's for, right? So I do remember demoing the vocals, writing the lyrics and demoing the vocals the same day that we had a show down in LA, another show. And I remember playing the song that night down there. And
Thanks again. Thanks you guys for coming out. Good to see all you guys again. Good to see some repeat Night Demon fans here. Thank you very much tonight. Let's keep it going. This song's about a show we played in Highland Park where this guy came and he just wanted to open fire on the show. We didn't get shot, thank God. We're here tonight, but we wrote a song about this song. It's called Run for Your Lives.
We had this song was being solidified, and it actually was one of the first Night Demon songs that actually had a real solid meaning, and it was an experience that we all went through as a band, doing a band-related thing. I thought that was really cool. I mean, these are the kind of things that you dream. I mean, you don't dream you're going to get shot at in a good way. You don't have a fantasy that's going to happen. But these are the kind of experiences in life that you want to have with your band. And you know, from our standpoint, from a band that had not toured yet and had just played regionally, I mean, we'd never even left the state or the country or anything at that point. And for these kinds of experiences to happen and to be able to immortalize a moment like this in a song and actually still be here on the mortal plane when easily, you know, this guy walking down the street, he could have shot Brent and his friend right there. They were the first guys that saw him. You know, these bullets were flying right at me. I could have easily been shot. I mean, I missed being shot by inches on both sides of my head. And then him rounding the corner and seeing John right there and just walking right by him, like just right by him. I mean, he could have just, anything could have happened, you know?
Metal Blade Records presents the return of heavy metal legends Armored Saint with their 8th full-length album, Punching the Sky. A diverse, attitude-drenched collection, it's everything the band's faithful have come to expect from them while pushing their signature sound forward. Featuring 11 hard-hitting tracks available on double LP and Digipack CD. Right now, Metal Blade Records is giving all Night Demon Heavy Metal podcast listeners a 15% store-wide discount on all Metal Blade releases and merchandise, including this masterpiece from Armored Saint. Go to indiemerch.com/Metal Records and enter promo code NDPodcast at checkout. This store is loaded with tons of swag from some of the best bands in metal, like Midnight, Sirith Ungle, Merciful Fate, Angel Witch, Satan, and of course, the mighty Armored Saint. That's indiemerch.com/Metal Records, promo code NDPodcast. So march like a saint and take the last train home. Can you deliver?
Gunfire opened up at a show and like whizzed past this girl's head and like almost blew her head off, like right in front of Jarvis, and literally people were running for their lives, and it was just a scary scene overall. I wasn't there, but from what I've heard of it, it seemed like a living nightmare. So I think that's a really cool thing about the song, is that it is a true story. But that's one unique thing, and that's something additional that I can add to this song, is that it is a true story. So when you listen to that song, it's not just a fairy tale. I mean, that shit really happened. Fortunately, I wasn't there, and I'm really happy that I wasn't. But it's something that Jarvis felt that he needed to write down and to put into a song.
Let's get into the lyrics. The first verse.
They wait for the night to fall, then come out and play. They're not human anymore.
So, in my mind, this is kind of taken from the angle of like street people, gangs. They wait for the night to fall, then come out and play. So, I mean, it's kind of a cool thing to put it that way because, I mean, being in a band like Night Demon and being horror-driven and fantasy-driven and all this stuff, I mean, it's kind of like you can say that about, you know, a vampire or any kind of dark creature or force or group of people. You can say that about. You can say that about a bunch of metalheads. You know, I mean, in lyrics, you want to be metaphorical about things a lot. It's only in a situation like this when we're giving a full breakdown of something that we're actually honest about what we're writing about and we're disclosing this stuff. But a lot of times, as a songwriter, you want your lyrics to be to mean whatever the listener wants it to mean for them. If they get some meaning out of it in some way, then you've done your job, regardless if you're trying to. I mean, you don't want to be so blatant about something, but at the same time, look, I have no problem talking about what each and every single one of our songs are about and breaking them down like this. I love this. So let me carry on with this. So that's basically the gang there, the gang members. They wait for the night to fall, then come out and play. They're not human anymore. So, I mean, here's this kid who comes up and opens fire on a crowd, right? I mean, chances are, I mean, I don't know who this person is personally, but chances are, I mean, this is a person. This is a human being. This is somebody that did not come out of the womb with a gun and evil intent in his heart. This is somebody who is trying to fit in and has to prove himself and who's being influenced by evil to do their work. So he's not human anymore at that point, in that moment. Second part of that verse.
On a moody, mystic night, you know there's something strange. When they're gunning for the door. Oh!
So, on a moody, mystic night. So that's a direct connection to Doug Moody and Mystic Records. And that's honestly one of my favorite lines that I've ever written in Night Demon, because that's something that really only the band guys would know. But it does make sense. It was a moody, mystic night. And Doug Moody from Mystic Records was there. And he's a ghost in his own way, right? On a moody, mystic night, you know there's something strange when they're gunning for the door. So they were gunning for the door. They were shooting at the door, and the door that I was standing in.
I hear a shot ring out. The ricochet. Bullets flying by my head.
True story. That's what happened. I heard a shot ring out and ricochet. Shit's hitting my face. Bullets flying by my head. That's what happened.
The sirens start to roll. It's looking pretty grim. But the show must go on.
So the sirens start to roll. The police helicopters, the fire truck, all the cops are there. There's sirens, there's lights, everything. It's looking pretty grim, meaning it's not looking very good. However, the Grimm was the headliner that night. Old school punk rock band, the Grimm, the band that Bob Odie formed in the 80s that he's playing in. So there is another thing that you would have to be there to know. Really proud of these lyrics, but the show must go on. And like I mentioned before, the show did go on. Fucking miraculously. Everybody just kind of went about their business. Oh, that was cool. And the show went on. It's insane. This is like what happens when you grow up in Southern California. It's fucking crazy, man.
Run! Get away! You feel like you've been had. No time to waste. Get away!
So that's how I'm feeling at the time. There's so much adrenaline pumping through my body. I had no idea, if I was actually shot or not. That's how much of a fight or flight moment I was having. And it wasn't until right after. I mean, I was actually checking around my body to see, did something get by me? Did I, did some bullet land in my leg, in my arm? I don't know. I mean, that's what happens. You don't feel the pain until later, right? So, chorus here. Run for your life.
Run for your life. Keep on running. I can't give you safety anymore.
So that is kind of a reference to when those two girls came underneath that ramp. When I asked them, just basically said, get under here. At that moment, I was feeling like, as much as I was afraid of my own life, I mean, I'll be honest, when the panic started and everybody started to dissipate quickly and I ran back there, I wasn't thinking about anybody else's safety. I wasn't thinking about anything else than self-preservation. I was thinking about my own life. But at that point, when I saw these two women crying and freaking out, I wasn't gonna just pretend like I wasn't there and or tell them get away, or you're gonna draw attention, or it's like I wanted to help them, but at the same time, it's like I knew that I couldn't. It's like they could come and take shelter with me, but I mean that's pretty much where it ends. I can't give you safety anymore. That's what that line means. There's nothing further I could have done to protect them or anybody else or even myself.
Run for your life. For your life. Death is standing right out the front door. Run for your life.
So, yeah, death is standing right at the front door. That's exactly what that means. The gunman at the door. It's there. And again, I don't know what's happening at this point. It's like we were just sitting ducks. And at a certain point I had to make a move. And I left the two girls down there, but I was like, I gotta get out of here and see what's happening. We can't stay stagnant in there. It's only a matter of time, and all of these active shooter stories that we have in the U.S. and the Columbine stuff. I mean, having knowledge of this stuff, at this point, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know it was some quick gang initiation. I didn't know this guy was just going to fire 5, 6, 7 shots into a crowd and then leave. At this point, I've had time to think, and I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe there's multiple people. Maybe this guy's got a full arsenal. I have no idea. Maybe he's just going to come and pick everybody off. I mean, he could have easily not gone downstairs because there's a lot of people down there, and maybe he had a fear that he would have been taken over. He could have just walked down this alley and had his fun with the few people that were there like me. So really, it's just a crazy fucking thing. I'm just so glad that I was able to put this into words and actually write some great lyrics around it that have a lot of metaphorical meaning. And it's just good. It's good to be able to tell this story for what it is after all this time.
All hail, Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. This is Dusty Squires chiming in to tell you about my brand new signature sticks from the London Drumstick Company. I've dreamt of having my very own drumsticks ever since I was a wee lad, and LDC made that a possibility for me. Founded in 2016 in London, England, the birthplace of heavy metal, the London Drumstick Company has trailblazed a path through the music industry and taken the drummer world by storm. When I met them for the first time, they knew their product was going to withstand the beatings of a Night Demon show. They took the time to work with me on getting everything just right. The balance and weight of my sticks are the same no matter what, and the durability is bar none the best I've ever had. I know my sticks will last through the set night after night. I'm truly honored to work with a company that caters to their players the way LDC does. Their innovation and attention to detail is what separates them from the rest of the stick makers out there. Their custom stick sleeves are unbelievable and really make the entire presentation complete. Wait until you see the design they came up with for me. It blew my mind and was a surprise to say the least. They have all kinds of amazing swag, including hoodies, t-shirts, drummer shorts, drum keys, stick bags, towels, face masks, practice pads, and much, much more. Even if you're not a drummer, you can be a part of Demon history and order my brand new signature sticks direct from their website. How cool is that? And to top it off, the London Drumstick Company are giving an exclusive offer to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. Go to londondrumsticks.co.uk and receive a 15% store-wide discount using promo code DEMONSTICKS. All capital letters, no spaces, Demon Sticks. DEMONSTICKS. I can't thank everyone there enough for the opportunity to be a part of their family and for them trusting me with their amazing products. See you metal maniacs on the road very soon. And yes, the wood chips will be flying.
When talking about the structure of the song, it's pretty much your basic Night Demon structure. Intro, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, or solo, chorus, out kind of thing. You know, like I've always said before, we just like to get in and get out. We don't like to milk the hook. One very cool thing that we did with this song is the solo section. And it's basically, the solo section is just over the verse riff. So it takes place of what would have been, I suppose, a third verse. And we did this kind of trade-off solo where it starts where, you know, Brent does a small lead fill to the solo, and then I do a bass solo, and then he does a guitar solo, and then I do a bass solo right into the pre-chorus. So it's just a simple trade-off call and response. Guitar, bass, pre-chorus. That's it. But it is pretty interesting, especially because, you know, being a three-piece has its challenges in general as far as fullness goes. And that's something that Night Demon's always worked towards, just having the most, you know, the fullest sound possible with the least amount of parts. And the fact that we've put most of our focus into that element of it, of the band sonically, has been a big success for us. But in the case of this, when I'm doing the bass solo parts on bars 2 and 4 of that third verse, there's no other backing behind it except for the rhythm guitar doing that kind of running free chunking, the dunk 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 dunk. You know, so normally it's very strange. I mean, you know, you can have some kind of a bass solo on an album, but most people, I think, would kind of overdub another bass part, put a bunch of distortion on it, and maybe take out some low end so it sounds more like a guitar. I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, you it's a strange thing. I think a lot of people would be afraid to take out the low end thump of the bass guitar underneath a solo, but that's a chance that we had to take, and it was a risk worth taking. And I know that these are just small incremental parts in a song, but it does matter. I mean, when you're listening to this on headphones and the low end drops out, when the bass solo parts happen, I actually think that's a very cool thing because it puts more emphasis on the part. And when something is steady and it's just going and going and going at the same rate, the same consistent volume, it's almost boring. It's something as solid as a rock. It's still a fucking rock, right? There's nothing exciting about the rock, right? So, looking back on it, I think we really made the right choice there because, I mean, on this record, we did have rhythm tracks. When Armand joined the band, we really, really, really got away from that, and we kept it very three-piece Van Halen 1 style. It's very rare that we put a rhythm track behind a solo or anything like that. I mean, it's like it's only on certain very small parts that we want to put a very large emphasis on. But in hindsight, I think this was a great move, and it's something really cool.
So yeah, the guitar parts. Like I said, I really like that main riff, man. It's cool. It's fun, you know. It's a little tricky to play. It took me a little bit to kind of like really lock in on that one and maybe to play it exactly right. I mean, I'm always going to play things a little bit differently just because of who I am and how I play and compared to Brent or whatever. But I don't know. I think I've kind of owned into that song and really enjoy playing it. I like playing the solo, too. That's another thing. I've kind of put a little bit of my own spin on it. I might have had a little something to do with that solo when it was being written because, I'm pretty sure most of the songs that I recorded that first round for the Run for Your Life album, I really sat in the room with Brent and helped him work out a lot of the solos because he didn't have a lot of the stuff already sketched out. So we would just he would bounce stuff off of me, and as my role as being not only an engineer when I do albums, but I'll produce. If somebody needs some help musically with something, I will step in and give them my ideas. I'll pick up a guitar and be like, hey, why don't you try this? Instead of playing it like this, here, look at this fingering. It'll be easier for you, and it'll inspire them to do something else or to get better. That's my whole thing, is just to get the best. You want to capture the best thing that you can, get the best performance out of the players. And so whatever that takes, however you get to that point, be it I pick up the guitar and sit with them and show them a way to play something that maybe they wouldn't have thought of, then that's what it is, and I'll do that. And if they like it, cool. If not, then fuck off. Whatever. I don't care. It's your music, so you decide what you want to do in the end. But I'll give you my opinion if you want it. So I think that's how a lot of that came together. There's a lot of those solos that I felt that were kind of partly mine, to be honest. So when I was learning those songs, or when I first started playing with the band, I mean, it's like the Sirathungal thing. I had heard those songs so many times already, from recording it and everything and working out the parts with Brent, that I already knew how to play them pretty much. There was I had to refine some things here and there, of course, but the bulk of the work was already done,
It's a really cool song to play drums to, and we don't play it a lot. Yeah, I mean, I'm just keeping that kind of like, the guitar's doing its thing, and I'm just kind of keeping that classic beat going. And then I kind of open it up with the hi-hats. So there's like kind of like two different parts to the verse. Which is pretty unique. It's a simple little thing, but I'm just keeping that backbeat going. Even though it's got that shuffle feel or the swing feel, I'm really holding down that backbeat. And that gives it kind of its like general appeal. You know, you can really just kind of dance to a good 2/4 backbeat song. It's not all progressive and confusing, you know. I think that's one cool thing about the way that we write songs is that you can dance to it, you know. We want chicks to shake their asses, you know. You can only look at so many sweaty German men for so long.
You know, the tone of this song, besides the lyrical content, I guess, isn't very dark, but it has a kind of a happier feel. I don't know. I just keep going back to the like, just tapping your toes, you know. Hey, a lot of the triplet thing, you know. It's got a very kind of like big, like a swing. I just love it. It's got a good swing feel. And yeah, when we do play it live, again, it's kind of it's just a fun all around song, man. It's just like, you just want to drink a beer and have a good time. So nothing wrong with that, man.
Run for Your Life has not gotten much live play. And to be honest, I can't really tell you why it hasn't. And the more I go back and reminisce about this song and the meaning and just how badass of a song it really is, I really couldn't tell you why this is not a staple of the Night Demon live set or why it doesn't even occasionally come back into play.
I don't know. I think it just kind of got put on the back burner. It's never like a conscious thing when we go in and say we're going to exclude this song or this song. I just think over time it may have just fallen into the wayside, but not really forgotten. It's not a song that we sit back and say that's a terrible track and we're never going to play it again.
But really after this, I can honestly say that, I mean, I haven't talked to the other two guys, and you know, I think the cool thing about this podcast is we never speak to each other about doing these interviews. We don't talk to each other beforehand and say, what are you going to say about it or anything like that. The fans and listeners get an honest approach here from each of us, and I love how our stories line up, and I love hearing the other perspectives from the people that surround us and, you know, the other guys in my band. But so I won't speak for them, but I'm going to put my vote in now to bring back Run for Your Life. I mean, it's such a quick, fun, easy song, and there's every reason for us to throw this in. It's a fucking banger, and it's got my vote.
You know, I think we'll come back to those, and I think they'll gain new life, and we'll gain a new respect for them and a new joy in playing them. I know we've done that in the rehearsal room a few times. It's like sometimes we'll get together and, you know, whether we're going to work on some new stuff, it's always good to just, you know, get in and jam on something, you know, just to start off. And so sometimes we'll sit there and go like, well, what do you want to play? I don't know. What do you want to play? I don't know. So then I'll just fucking start playing a riff. And a couple of times I'll throw that one out there, or Living Dangerous, just to kind of throw a little. And the guys look at me like, oh, yeah, all right, cool. And then, you know what? We start playing it, and we look over at each other, and everybody's smiling and having a good time playing it, because they are those kind of songs that you don't have to think, you know, you don't have to think hard about them. You just play them. They're easier songs. And I mean, dude, come on. Rock and roll is simple, right? I mean, we can make it complicated, but always the best shit goes back to the just simple.
I honestly think maybe it might come out in the future. Who knows? I'm down to playing it, but I don't think there's like a specific reason why we don't play it. I don't know. I think it could come back in the future.
So that's it for Run for Your Life. Looks like it might return to the live set soon, which is pretty cool. You know, part of what I love about doing this podcast is songs like this one. I always liked it, but it was just one of those songs on side 2 of Curse of the Damned. And when you get to hear the story and the meaning behind it and the history of these tracks, you really get a new appreciation for them. And this track went from just being a solid album track to a favorite, and I kind of hear it differently now. And that's what I love about this podcast. And, you know, I hope you guys are digging it too. If you have any feedback, you can always reach me at nesbit@nightdemon.net. That's Nesbit with 1 T. I always love hearing what you guys think of the episodes. And be sure to check out the bonus content in the subscriber section of nightdemon.net. There's multiple audio and video versions of Run for Your Life, live versions. The unused cover art for the Run for Your Life album. There's pictures from that show in July that inspired the lyrics to this song. And don't forget the never before heard full demos of Run for Your Life. It's definitely worth checking out. Until next time, this is Nesbit signing off.
Thanks for listening to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. Head over to nightdemon.net, click on the subscriber tab, and sign up to access exclusive weekly bonus content. If you would like to donate to support the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast, you can do so through PayPal at paypal.me/nightdemonmetal. Additionally, if you have not already done so, please subscribe, like, rate, and review the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Unbearable suspense that keeps you on the edge of an abyss of terror.
Take a cult film odyssey into Cinemadness with Cinematic Void. Based in Los Angeles, Cinematic Void is a film series that specializes in horror and exploitation films. Currently, we are hosting Cinematic Void Up All Night in the Cinemadness movie, a monthly virtual screening series, as well as the Cinematic Void podcast, where we dive deeper into the world of cult cinema. You can find Cinematic Void on the World Wide Web at cinematicvoid.com, as well as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you like what we do, you can support Cinematic Void by joining our Patreon. Until next time, see you in the void.